Well, I figured that a lot of people ask, how much do I have to spend to get started honing my own razors and this and that. And there's basically two camps. There's the people who plan to actually restore razors and hone them start to finish, and there's the people who just need a hone to touch up on. And a lot of times, the advice for the touch up people is to use paste or use films, or just to, anytime you need to touch it up, send it out. But I don't think that either of those are the best solution. I personally am not a fan of paste shaves, and well, film may work out just as well as high-end scents. A lot of people tend to prefer natural finishes for whatever their reasons are. And two of the options that are actually pretty affordable are smaller cuticules. You can't really buy new ones this size, I guess, unless you special order them from Ardennes, but I think they start at about 125 millimeter by 40, maybe even 100 by 40. This is 125 by 25. It's a 1 by 5. And this is a 1 by 5 Thuringian, which they've spiked recently. They're about $110 if you want them with a label. But you can, for the last few years, you've been able to get them $50, $60, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see them going for that now and then still, if you keep your eyes open and are willing to wait a little bit. But so I mean, these are both pretty affordable. And people's concern is, do I want to hone on something this small? Well, it's not terribly difficult, particularly if you're just touching up, because you don't have to worry about taking a lot of material off, so you're not too concerned with having the tactile dexterity, I guess would be the word to look for, to be able to manipulate the edge. You really just have to make sure your razor's coming in contact fully. And narrow hones, most people find, are actually a little bit easier for that. And this is 125. It's plenty of length for a touch-up hone. You really don't need to go much longer than this, obviously. If you have the money, go for it. I mean, I have some 12-inch stones. I might even have a couple 13 or 14 inches. But, and this is a pretty easy motion. This is a fairly straight razor. It's got a little bit of a smile to it, but basically it was very nearly new old stock when I got it. Only had a little bit of hone wear on it. So this is a relatively easy one. And, I mean, your touch-up, people vary. You could do anywhere from 10 to a couple hundred passes, but you don't have to rush. I mean, you can go a little bit faster. A lot of people like to do this in hand. I tend to prefer bench stones, but with smaller stones, doing it in hand is certainly an option. I mean, for touching up, generally you don't really need to use any pressure, particularly if it's on something like a Codicule or a Thuringian, which are both reasonably fast for just light work, as long as you don't have to go there from a 4K or something. This box is kind of screwy, so it's actually rattling. Let me put something underneath it to keep that from happening. And these are really, when they were going for $50 or $60, I mean, they were the deal for people who want to touch up hones, because I really don't think there's anything more consistent or easier than a Thuringian for touching up a razor. And 1 by 5, there's nothing wrong with this. You're not doing this every day. It's not like you need the area if you're trying to be frugal about it. This one I actually got relatively cheaply because the label wasn't fully visible. The guy said he saw a label in there, didn't know what it said, and it's pretty much covered in oil. So I got this one, I think around a little over 50 shipped is what it wound up costing me, which is a good price these days. And then this one, this is the stone I posted about. I was actually really surprised to pick it up, because I basically just threw like a $15 or $16 bid at it, just in case nobody else bid on it, and I won it with that. I think it was 16 and change, plus it might even been free shipping, but I think it was like $6 or $7 shipping. We got it under 25 anyway. I mean, it's actually really nice. It's got a nice feel. It's got a nice silky, just a little bit of drag to it, so you get a little bit of feedback off of it, but it doesn't feel gritty or really harshly abrasive like some of the more recently mined stones tend to be. the La Verts and the La Gris. It's not quite as nice as the old Koshers, but it's a pretty nice fan. The shape will tell, of course, but I mean, that's not to say that you can't do this off of something like a La Verte or a La Gris, because if you get an Ardennes stone, that's probably what you're going to wind up getting. And I'll pull one of those out now to show you what they're like. The La Gris, I believe. Another stone I got for a pretty good price on eBay. I just saw it going pretty cheap, and I'm like, yeah, I'll throw a value bid at it, see if I want it, and I did, and I was actually really surprised. Now you can hear that it's kind of like running over chalk almost, that audio, and you can definitely feel it. It almost feels like you're going on a really coarse but really soft abrasive hone. Like the abrasive is large, but it's kind of crumbling away in front of your bracer. I don't really like the feedback on these hones, but they certainly work. But there you go. I mean, there's not a whole lot to touching up. If you want to get into more thorough honing, I mean, even if you start out with just something like this, I mean, it's easy to just buy like a synth set, or, at that point you could go with the film and still be finishing on the natural stone if you like. And, wind up paying, depending on where you go, I guess for film, probably about 30 or 40 bucks. Or if you go into like a full set of Choceras or Shepton Pros, you're looking at 500-600, but anywhere in between, I mean, there's all kinds of options. But just to get started honing, I mean, something like this, I think Ardennes with shipping for 100 by 40 or 125 by 40, I think it'll run you under 50 for sure. I want to say it's like 27 or 36 or 35 euro, which works out to be just about 50. And if you don't want to deal with the weight on that, it's usually not too bad. I think it takes a week and a half, 2 weeks most of the time when I have bought from them. You can go to Superior Shave. They have the ones you can see. I don't know how good their selection of 5-inch stones is right now, but they usually have quite a few there under 100 bucks, so I'm sure you can find some smaller ones. But yeah, definitely keep your eyes on eBay. If you see something like this, one of the celebrated razor hones or genuine water hones, or if they have the extra cup on the label, you know what you're getting there. And they're 5x1. Sometimes they're as narrow as 20 millimeters, but it's not a huge difference. You really probably won't even notice that in use. And they vary everywhere from about 4 1/4 to about 5.5 inches. Easy as can be. And this guy's really not much. Again, not much harder. It's just takes a little more time. Probably when you're getting started out, you just go a little bit slower. And I mean, you're talking 3-4 minutes to do 100 passes on this. And I can't imagine you'd ever need to do more than that for touching up a razor. There you go.